Hi there YouTube, welcome back to my channel. I'm Lisa the PFJ. I hope you're having a wonderful day today. I come to you on this lovely Wednesday afternoon to talk a little bit about, as promised from yesterday's video, the latest goings on with a certain franchise called Lord of the Rings and the TV series coming out on Amazon called The Rings of Power. Now, if you are a subscriber and you've watched any of my previous videos, I thank you for that. You'll know that at least a couple of the videos I've made have covered this topic, and I've been paying some amount of attention to it since the making of the series was revealed to the public. Now, I am quite a big Lord of the Rings fan. On the scale of the fandom, I reckon I'm probably quite low. I'm not an expert by any means. I've read the books more than once. I've read The Hobbit, the Lord of the Rings books, and the Silmarillion. I've only read the Silmarillion twice, I think. It's probably more than a lot of people would have done, but yeah, that's the level where I'm at. And I've also watched the movies, both the theatrical and extended cut, on multiple occasions. So, but in terms of knowledge of the lore and the characters and Middle Earth and any level of expertise on that, I'm probably a bit thinner on the ground than others. But I like to think I do okay with it. Now, the latest on this, in the wake of everything that's gone on with it, from the initial release where people were hesitant, to the posters which weren't very well received, to the initial teaser trailer which didn't gather that much enthusiasm from the proper fans, and then the whole debacle with the super fan viewing, which was put out on the Amazon YouTube channels and was ratioed all to hell because everyone in it spoke very little about what they thought, how the show they thought was going to be, whether they thought it was going to be a good story, whether it was going to be interesting on that front, whether it was going to be good effects or good character building. Instead, it was all about diversity, representation, inclusion, and so it goes, which didn't inspire a lot of confidence and made a lot of people very mad, and to an extent myself, because it's something I like very much. I have a lot of respect for it, and I have a lot of respect for Tolkien and his dedication to creating a universe so expansive and detailed as he did. He clearly worked his large portion of his life on this and was very passionate about it, so that deserves a lot of respect, whether you're a fan or not, I would say. Anyway, the latest out on this, and the other thing was the covers that HarperCollins, the publishers, have released with the artwork from the posters of the Rings of Power, which I think personally is an abomination. They have no place being on the cover of the original Lord of the Rings books. They have no relation to the books, no relation to the stories in those books, so they have no business being on the cover. It's pure marketing and money-making purposes alone that is even happening, and trying to hijack, as the series itself probably is, something that is way more established and successful than this series is shaping up to be. It's a very cynical ploy from the people involved, and I am not a fan of it, as a lot of people on Twitter have also expressed their disdain for it. The likes of Lady Gravemaster, who in a really wholesome thread on Twitter was able to get a load of people sending photos of their original copies of the books and the artwork that was on those. I would have myself, but I don't have my favourite copy of the book handy at the moment. It's in a storage box at my parents' house in the UK, so pardon me for that. But yeah, that was something that caught my attention and I was not pleased about. So, moving on to the main crux of what the video is going to be about, it was about another event that was thrown by the makers of the series and Amazon themselves, I'm presuming, where they invited a wide and, as I've seen in most of the articles about it, diverse group of Tolkien appreciation podcasts, influencers, I hate that word, YouTubers who have channels dedicated to talking about Tolkien and his work, people from the Tolkien Society, and other representatives who have some kind of interest in the world of Lord of the Rings. They were invited to the UK, by the looks of things, all expenses paid, to a several-day long event where they got to go to London and Oxford. Oxford being the place where J.R.R. Tolkien was a professor at the university there, so that's the link there. And were shown a. Now, I initially thought it was a clip of the show. It was going to be like a clip from the show as it would be broadcast when it eventually comes out later this year. But what it turned out to be, as I found out, and others did too, it was a spliced together 20-minute long video with clips of the show, just showing a bit more detail than what the initial teaser trailer did. And it gave exclusive access to these people who were invited to see this. And what they also got to do after this was have a Q&A session with the showrunners, whose names escape me. One of them's called Jerry Payne, and there's one other chap who is working with him. They had a Q&A with the invitees to talk about, answer any questions and talk about what their plans were and what they could expect to see in the series when it gets broadcast. Now, two things. I question how likely you are to get an honest answer out of anyone who attended this if they were invited over and wined and dined and basically made a fuss over for however long they were there, when that could very easily influence any opinion they might have, and it could, at least falsely or artificially allay any of the fears that they might have had going forward from seeing what they've seen so far. I do know from reading that there were some of them who said that they weren't very impressed with the teaser trailer when they first saw it, and having been to this event, they've now said that they feel a bit more confident that the show's in good hands. Now, far be it from me to question the integrity of these people, but I will, because it's very easy, especially if you're a fan of something like Lord of the Rings. When you're a fan of something like Lord of the Rings, you tend to be all in. You tend to be quite dedicated to it and being, quite enthusiastic about it. There doesn't seem to be such a thing as a casual fan of Lord of the Rings. There might be in the form of people have seen the movie and they quite like them, even though they don't quite understand the story because they're not that interested in that kind of genre, or they haven't read the books, whatever reason it might be. But they definitely don't. There doesn't tend to be a fan within that within this fandom who isn't 100% love the movies, love the books, think that they're the best thing ever made. That tends to be the standard for the average Lord of the Rings fan. So, with that being said, it's easy then, especially if you've got a certain mindset, for you to be swayed into thinking that something that you don't think looks that great, and if you've had someone paying for you to be invited to London and Oxford, which are two really cool places in the UK. I'll be honest, I've never been to Oxford. I've been through Oxford, but I've been to London a few times now, and it's, despite the problems that any city has, it's a wonderful city. It's full of history. It's full of amazing attractions and landmarks, and there's so much to do, so much to see. It's an amazing place to go. Oxford, for the city, full of history as well, but it's a much more sort of quieter and more chilled place than London is. It's very historic for the fact that it has the university in it, which has been there for centuries. It's got beautiful sort of old town vibes. It's has a whole different appeal to London, but it's a wonderful place to visit nonetheless, even though I've never been. But if you've got that, and then you've got the whole experience of it, you've been you're not fawned over, but you've been wowed and wooed into coming to this place, and then you're seeing what you've seen. And just imagine if you'd seen that spliced together 20-minute video and you still weren't that enamoured with it, then you've got the showrunners talking to you and they're telling you what the things that they think that you want to hear. Then if you're of this particular mindset, then that's going to be enough for you to go, actually, this probably isn't going to be as bad as I think it's going to be. And it's like, and I don't want to make it sound like these guys are idiots or anything. They could be very smart people, but you don't have to be dumb for that to have an effect on you, especially if it's something that you hold in such high regard as Lord of the Rings. If you're such a huge fan of it, you'll be determined for it to be good, even if everything that you see and hear makes you think it's going to be bad. The other thing was the way in which it was described by everyone who attended. For the most part, I can't pretend to say that I've seen the reactions of every person who attended, but I've seen enough for it to be like it was like reading from a script. Every one of them said that they had a great time. It was an amazing experience. The clips were beautiful. It looked like it was well made, and the showrunners, when they talked to us, reassured us and made us feel like the show's in good hands. Not exactly worded like that. There were variations. There was slightly different words involved in different people's reactions. The ones I saw, they were on Twitter and other social media, but they all were singing from the same song sheet pretty much, and that doesn't fill me with confidence either, because again it feeds back to what I've just said for the first point, that they're going to have these words. Now, I'm not suggesting for a minute that they've all cobbled together and came up with the same words and the same thing, and they've conspired to write the same thing as each other, because what would be the point now? It would be even more obvious that they were, easily influenced by what they'd seen and heard. So why would they do that to themselves? Why would they make themselves look like essentially frauds, because that's what it would do? But what it did do is just make you think that they have again been influenced by what they've been invited to, and the time that they've been shown and the experience they've been given has been enough of an influence on them for them to feel like they have to say that they think this looks good, when the reality is they might not think it looks that good, or maybe they are just that simple that they think that this actually looks great, it looks amazing, and have been that easily influenced by their experience. So that's doesn't fill me with confidence at all. But in fact, it makes me very sceptical, and it's made a lot of other people feel the same way, so I know I'm not alone. I'm losing the ability to get mad at this, because the last video I made when I was talking about the superfan reaction thing, that did genuinely make me mad, because there was some stuff being said in that video by the people involved that was just patently ridiculous and quite frankly just really fucking stupid. This one is different because it's been marketed as if these people are like true ingrained fans and have some level of expertise in academia involved in the lore and the literature of Lord of the Rings and J.R.R. Tolkien. I've also seen I think a reference to the enthusiasm for them creating brand new characters, which right off the bat, anyone who is a Lord of the Rings fan and knows at least a little bit about the extensive works and letters that J.R.R. Tolkien wrote surrounding the Middle-earth lore, it's all that these makers of this show can do, because from what I understand they have no rights to any of the original characters apart from the occasional one. There's Galadriel, Gil-galad, Elrond, they're in the new series, but as far as extending past those, they've not wouldn't have been allowed to because of what they own the rights to. They don't own the rights enough to make any more additions of established characters, so they've kind of been forced to make up new characters with the sort of thin basis that they've been able to get their hands on. The stuff they own the rights to is all they've got to work on, so they literally can't use any of the other established characters, so that's easily explained. Like I said, it's really hard to get mad, because the more I see, the more I'm just thinking, this isn't good. This isn't going to work out. There's too much money involved. There's too much corporate interest involved. There's too much politics involved from the side of the social media types who, the minute you express any kind of concerns about this, you're immediately labelled as something, because they've introduced black characters. Oh, it must be because you don't like black people, therefore you're a racist. If it's a female character who's been injected in, or has been given a role above and beyond that which she would have in the original story or within the parameters of what the universe is, then it's because you don't like women and therefore you're sexist. It's so boring and repetitive and quite frankly fucking annoying. And I'd say if it makes you feel like you want to give up, but I'm not there yet. I'm still a massive fan of the books. I'm still a massive fan of the movies. I think that they are some of the greatest books ever written, the best movies ever made. Peter Jackson had the right idea in mind when he started out. He knew what he was doing. I'll paraphrase him, because there was a quote from an interview from him in the lead up to the films being released, where he said that he went into this wanting to do what Tolkien did. He wanted to go through what Tolkien had written. He didn't want to do it from a political point of view because that was not what Tolkien would have wanted. Essentially that simple. There's more to it in the clip. If you've got time, find the clip. It's from like 2000, I think. It just basically sums up his love for the works as well, that he has enough respect for the work and what Tolkien has written, that he wanted to be as faithful to the original material as he possibly could. And I can't say the same for the people who are making this series going forward. I had an analogy, but it might sound a bit silly, but I'll throw it in there anyway. So imagine you have a favourite restaurant. It's the go-to place for you. You go there as often as you possibly can. The menu is wonderful, the food is fantastic, the service is amazing. You know that every time you go there, the experience you're going to get is going to be great. And then you are invited along, because you're a loyal patron of the restaurant. You are invited along for a free event where you get all the food you want, the meals that you like, drink that you like. You get everything that you think that that you're used to from this restaurant. And you turn up on the night, you're all ready to go, you're excited, you're enthusiastic, you want to enjoy this event and enjoy what's going to get put in front of you. And the food you get put in front of you is disgusting. It's cold, it's inedible, it's covered in, let's say, it's covered in maggots or whatever. And you look at it and you go, this isn't what I'm used to from this restaurant. This is nothing like what I usually get. And you're inclined to express this to the restaurant owner, but the restaurant owner then comes forward and says to you, well, this isn't what you're used to, I know, but trust me, the restaurant's in good hands. I'm going to take care of this. You're going to love what's coming next. Now, in some person's minds, the previous experiences that you've had from the restaurant would make you think, okay, maybe maybe they're right, maybe they're being honest, maybe this is just a slip up and they're going to keep making the good from now on. But in some other people's minds that would be, well, I'm not coming back here if they're going to make me shit. I'm not coming back to this restaurant again. And there you see, I think, in my head anyway, tell me if I'm talking shit, you get the dichotomy between the people who have attended this event. They love Lord of the Rings, or at least say they love Lord of the Rings, turn up at this event, have everything taken care of for them, see the video, think it's rubbish, the showrunners talk to them, and maybe they feel a bit differently. Whereas people like myself and other people in the sphere don't feel quite the same. We think that you don't have the best intentions in mind for this product, and it is not in good hands. It makes sense in my head. If it doesn't in yours, I apologise. So, thanks very much for listening. I appreciate it. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, a little like. If you didn't, and think I'm talking nonsense, yet again, like I will say, please, in a respectful way, as respectful as you can, let me know. If I've missed anything, if you think if there's something that could be added to the conversation, I'd be more than happy to hear it. If you liked what you heard, as well as liking, if you wouldn't mind subscribing, I very much appreciate it. And as far as possible, share it with whoever you want. Click the link, stick it on social media, tell your friends about it, whatever you need to do. Apart from that, I think I'm going to wrap it up here. Thanks very much for watching and listening, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.